Have you ever seen a mother get fired in front of her child for simply trying to protect him? What if I told you that the boss who watched it all happen didn't just stay silent, but ended up changing her life forever? This is the story of Claire Bennett, a hard-working single mom who brought her 8-year-old son Ethan to work one morning just once because she had no other choice. What she thought would be a quiet day turned into a public humiliation when her cold-hearted manager screamed at her and terminated her on the spot right in front of her little boy. But what neither Claire nor her boss knew was that someone else had been watching from the glass office above. Daniel Walker, the mysterious, powerful CEO who rarely stepped into office drama until that day. What he saw didn't just shake him, it lit a fire inside him that would change not only Claire's life, but his own. Stay with us because what begins as a heartbreaking fall turns into a story of dignity, second chances, and a love that no one saw coming. You won't believe where this story ends. It all started with a scream. "This is completely unacceptable." Claire Monica Green's shrill voice cut through the polished silence of the Walker and Comer legal offices like a razor. All heads turned. Claire Bennett stood frozen on the glossy marble floor, her 8-year-old son Ethan clinging tightly to her leg. His wide eyes darted between his mother and the furious woman in heels. "This is a law firm, not a daycare center," Monica snapped, jabbing her finger in Ethan's direction. Claire's heart pounded in her chest, but she held her ground. "Please, Monica, just let me explain. It was an emergency." "My sitter, I'm not interested in your excuses," Monica cut in, coldly, arms crossed. "You know our policy, no children on the premises, ever." Ethan stepped forward timidly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I wasn't loud. I just stayed in the room and drew pictures." The room went dead silent. Monica narrowed her eyes. "Listen, kid, this place is for professionals, not coloring books." Claire's protective instincts flared. She knelt and gently touched Ethan's shoulder. "My son behaved better than half the interns on this floor," she said evenly, her voice trembling with suppressed fury. What neither woman knew was that high above from the corner office overlooking the floor, Daniel Walker, the firm's elusive, brilliant, and notoriously private founder, was watching. From behind his frosted glass, Daniel had seen everything. His jaw clenched as Monica's cruel words echoed through the building. He wasn't used to feeling much lately, but something in the way Claire held her son while being publicly humiliated stirred something sharp and painful in his chest. That morning had begun like any other for Claire. At 5:30 a.m., her alarm went off. She'd made Ethan pancakes shaped like dinosaurs, ironed her one good blouse, and reviewed her notes for the crucial case meeting scheduled with Daniel himself. Then the call came. "Claire, I'm so sorry," Mrs. Helen's frail voice had said. "My sister's in the hospital. I have to go now. I can't watch Ethan today." Panic surged. Claire called everyone she could think of. Her sister Megan lived across town and couldn't leave work. The neighbors were all tied up. There was no one. Mom Ethan appeared in the doorway, in his pajamas, rubbing his eyes. Claire forced a smile. "Mrs. Helen can't come today. Can I go with you? I'll be super quiet, I promise." He had no idea what he was asking. Claire hesitated. The meeting today was critical. One misstep could cost her the job, and their rent was already 2 weeks overdue. "All right," she finally said, "but you have to be invisible, like a ninja." Ethan grinned. Ninja quiet. On the subway to downtown Chicago, Claire stared blankly out the window, while Ethan quietly held her hand. She had prepped everything, books, crayons, snacks. She set him up in an unused conference room and kissed his forehead. "Only come get me if it's really important." "Yes, ma'am," he said with a mock salute. For 4 hours, everything went perfectly. Claire worked through documents, took calls, even got ahead. Ethan stayed put, coloring and quietly stacking papers his mom didn't need anymore, proud to be helping. And then Monica found him. She seemed to appear out of thin air, her eyes gleaming with a venomous satisfaction. "To my office." Now she ordered Claire, which led them to this moment public humiliation judgment, the sharp sting of authority. "You're officially terminated," Monica announced with a cruel smile. "Pack your things and leave the premises." Claire's knees nearly gave out, but she stood tall even as her career crumbled in front of her son. "I've been here 3 years," she said quietly. "Not one missed day, not one complaint." My record means nothing, Monica said flatly. You broke the rules, and that's all that matters. From above, Daniel watched as Ethan tugged on Claire's skirt. Let's go, Mom. I don't like this lady. Claire bent down and hugged her son. Her eyes shimmered but didn't break. She walked out, dignity intact, her only belongings in a small cardboard box. Not a single coworker dared to stop Monica. Not one person intervened. Outside on the sidewalk, as the wind whipped around them, Ethan looked up at her. Mom, was it my fault? Claire choked back tears. You were perfect. This world just isn't always fair. They didn't know that Daniel was still at his window, fists clenched, jaw tight, watching them disappear into the city like they had never mattered. Back in their tiny Southside apartment, Claire placed the box on their secondhand table and sank into the couch. Ethan sat beside her, still wearing his little backpack. Want me to make tea? He asked, solemn and serious. Too serious for a kid his age. She couldn't take it. She opened her arms and he curled into them. I messed everything up, didn't I? She whispered. You didn't, he said quietly. Maybe this happened because something better is waiting. Claire looked down. Where'd you hear that at school? The teacher told us about how a butterfly has to fight out of the cocoon. It's ugly and hard and lonely. But then it gets to fly. She couldn't hold back anymore. She hugged him tight, letting the tears fall. That night, as Ethan slept beside her in their shared bed, Claire noticed something sticking out of his backpack. A crumpled sheet of paper. She unfolded it. In Ethan's shaky, careful handwriting, it read, If you are reading this, please help my mom. She's the strongest person I know, but even heroes need help sometimes. Claire stared at the note for a long time. What she didn't know was that Daniel Walker had found a second copy of that same note, folded slightly, torn on the floor, outside the conference room, fallen from Ethan's lunchbox during the chaos. He had it in his hands now, alone in his office, heart pounding. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a CEO. He felt like a man who had just witnessed something he couldn't ignore, and he was about to change everything. Thank you for staying with us. Sometimes the most powerful moments come right after the quietest ones. But do you think Monica deserved to be fired for what she did? Would you have risked your job like Claire to protect your child? If this touched your heart, please like this video and send us a little heart. Your support means everything. The next morning, Claire woke up with a knot in her stomach and her son still curled beside her. Sunlight streamed weakly through the thin curtains of their Southside apartment, but for Claire Bennett, everything still felt dim and uncertain. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Mrs. Bennett. The voice was low, familiar. This is Daniel Walker. Claire sat upright so quickly the bed creaked beneath her. I hope I'm not intruding, he continued. I'd like to meet. There's something I'd like to offer you, something that could change everything. By the time she hung up, her hands were shaking. An hour later, she was seated across from him at Benson Street Cafe, the same place lawyers from his firm usually discussed million-dollar cases. Yet today, he wasn't in a suit. No tie, just a navy sweater, jeans, and an uncharacteristic softness in his voice. Claire, he began. What happened at the firm was unacceptable. I reviewed your file. 3 years. Not a single complaint. Not a single late day. You're more valuable than half the associates I've hired from Ivy League schools. She blinked. Thank you. But I still don't understand why you're here. Because I'm starting over, he said, leaning in. I'm launching a new firm, Walker Legal Solutions. It's mine. And I need someone I trust, someone I believe in. I need you. Claire's breath caught. He went on. Not as an assistant, as a partner. You'd run operations. I'll handle business development. You'll have full flexibility, a salary twice what you earned, and a space for Ethan when necessary. She stared at him. You know his name. Daniel finally smiled. 8 years old, likes dinosaurs, draws like a champ, and frankly behaved better during that mess than most of my senior staff. Claire could hardly speak. I'm not offering you charity, he added. I'm offering you a stake in something real because I've seen what you can do, and because I believe in you. It was the first time in years anyone had said that to her. 2 weeks later, the new office in Rivergate District opened its doors. Claire had her own space. Ethan had a cozy corner with crayons, a mini desk, and even a junior associate nameplate. The walls weren't fancy, but they were theirs. And the energy was hopeful, fresh, alive. But the warmth didn't last. 3 days after the launch, a sleek black car pulled up to the building. Out stepped a woman with expensive heels, icy eyes, and a tailored coat straight off a Paris runway. "Hi, I'm looking for Daniel Walker," she said at the front desk. Claire stood. "He's on a call. Can I help you?" The woman gave a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm Vanessa Blake. Let's just say we go way back." Vanessa, the ex-wife. Claire's pulse skipped. She kept her tone neutral. "You're welcome to wait." Vanessa glanced around, nose wrinkling slightly at the humble setup. Then her gaze landed on Ethan's corner. "And that is what a daycare." "It's a family emergency station," Claire said calmly. "We prioritize flexibility here." "How progressive," Vanessa replied, dripping with sarcasm. Just then, Daniel stepped out. His posture stiffened the moment he saw her. "You're early," he said curtly. "I wanted to see your new venture," she said sweetly, "and meet your team." Daniel motioned between them. "Vanessa, this is Claire Bennett, my business partner." Something flickered behind Vanessa's eyes. "Of course," she said, extending a manicured hand. "So nice to meet the woman behind the desk." Claire shook her hand firmly. "Likewise." Later that day, Daniel tried to keep the conversation with Vanessa short, but Claire noticed something different after she left Daniel's distance. His text became brief, his tone cooler, and when Ethan asked where Mr. Daniel was, Claire found herself faking more and more excuses. And then came the whispers. Clients scheduled for meetings canceled without notice. One even left a message, "I'm uncomfortable supporting a firm with rumors like these." Claire felt the ground shift beneath her. Vanessa's presence hadn't just rattled the office, it was poisoning the soil before their roots had even taken hold. Late one evening, Claire stayed to finish case notes. Ethan, having had a rough day at school, quietly colored beside her. That's when Vanessa returned unannounced, holding 2 paper bags. Daniel, she called, stepping past the front desk like she still owned the place. Dinner from LaBelle, just like old times. Daniel stepped out of his office, clearly irritated. "Vanessa, now's not a good time." Vanessa's eyes flicked toward Claire and Ethan. "Clearly, please leave," Daniel said, voice tense. But Vanessa had seen enough. As she walked out, she muttered just loud enough for Claire to hear, "Sad, isn't it, this little charade? Everyone thinks she's special because she has a tragic backstory and a cute kid." Claire stood up, fists clenched. "Don't talk about my son." Vanessa turned with a smile. "Oh, honey, he's the only reason you're still standing here." Claire stared her down, heart pounding, then turned to her son. "Ethan, pack your things. We're going." Daniel stepped forward. "Claire, wait." She looked at him, eyes wet but unflinching. "I won't let him grow up in a place where people pretend to care while stabbing us in the back. I trusted you. I defended this place." Ethan grabbed her hand. "We don't belong here, right, Mom?" "No," she said quietly. "Not anymore." They left together without looking back. Daniel stood alone in the office, watching the door close behind them. A drawing sat abandoned on Ethan's desk, 3 figures holding hands under a yellow sun. He picked it up. His hands trembled. "Thank you for your patience as we pause here. But, do you think Vanessa planned everything to ruin Claire's life? Should Claire have fought harder? Or was walking away the right choice? If this chapter moved you, please like the video and send us a heart. Your support helps us keep telling stories that matter. 3 years passed like whispers in the wind, soft, quiet, and yet full of change. Claire Bennett no longer walked through office doors with fear or hesitation. Now she owned them. Bennett and Associates, the golden letters on the glass door of her modest but proud Southside firm, stood as proof of everything she had fought for. Her office overlooked a bustling street in Chicago's Rivergate district, and inside was a space filled not with marble and ego, but warmth and purpose. Her son Ethan, now 11, sat at the front desk, still coloring sometimes, but more often helping greet clients and filing case folders like he'd been born to do it. He'd grown taller, more confident, and when he smiled at her, Claire often caught her breath. Because in him she saw both the battles they had won and the love that had carried them through. They had built a life, one filled with meaning. Her firm took on the cases no one else wanted, single mothers fighting landlords, immigrants battling unjust layoffs, families scraping by hoping someone would believe in them. Claire had become their voice, but there were quiet nights when she still thought of him. Daniel Walker. She hadn't seen him since the night she walked away from his office with her dignity intact and Ethan's hand in hers. Rumors had circulated that his new firm hadn't survived long after that. Some said Vanessa left the country again. Others whispered Daniel had returned to his family's corporate firm uptown. Claire didn't seek the truth. She had learned that sometimes closing a door meant saving your soul. Until one Friday afternoon. Mom Ethan called from the front. Mr. Garcia dropped off the final documents for the Fernandez case. "Be right there, sweetheart," she answered, finishing up a call. Minutes later, she emerged with the signed papers. "Thanks for your help." "I'm getting good at this," Ethan said, beaming. "By the way, the phone rang while you were in there. Someone asked for the managing partner." Sounded kind of serious. Claire tilted her head. "Did they say their name?" Ethan nodded. Daniel Walker." She froze. For a moment, everything around her faded. Her chest tightened, memories flooding back like a sudden storm. Then she inhaled, steady and strong. "What did you tell him I told him you'd call back?" But before she could, the phone rang again. She stared at it, then picked it up. Claire, the voice was deeper but still familiar, still warm, still careful. "Daniel," she said, her tone neutral. "I know I don't have the right to call, not after so long, but could we talk? Just talk." She hesitated, then replied, "Tomorrow." 10 a.m., Benson Street Cafe, the same table. "I'll be there." The line went dead, but the air around Claire suddenly felt electric. The next morning, Claire arrived early. She wore a soft blue dress Ethan had picked for her, her curls pinned up loosely. She hadn't dressed for him, but she hadn't not dressed for him either. Daniel was already waiting. No suit this time. Just that same navy sweater from 3 years ago, now faded but familiar. "Claire," he stood as she approached. She nodded. "Daniel." They sat. "I don't know where to begin," he said. "Then start where it matters," she replied. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something unexpected, Ethan's drawing, the one of the three of them holding hands beneath the sun. It had been framed in a small wooden border, carefully preserved. "I kept this," he said softly, "every day, on my desk, because it was the first time I saw the family I could have had and was too afraid to fight for." Claire looked at it, emotions rising in her throat. "I let you walk away," he continued, "and I regretted it every single day. I let pride and Vanessa take away something real. You, Ethan, that life." She stared at him. "Why now? Because I finally became the man I should have been. And I'm hoping, just hoping, you'll give me a chance to prove it. Not out of pity, not out of guilt, but because maybe we could be something more. Something real." Claire was silent for a long moment. Then quietly she said, "It's been 3 years. I don't need saving." Daniel's eyes didn't waver. "I know. That's what makes you the strongest person I know." She smiled softly, unexpectedly. Later that evening, Ethan bounded into the apartment after school. "How was the meeting?" Claire handed him the framed picture. "He brought this." Ethan's eyes lit up. He still had it. She nodded. "And he wants to have lunch with us next week." Ethan grinned. "Is it weird if I say I hoped he'd come back?" "No," Claire said, pulling him into a hug. "Because sometimes the right people do come back, when they're ready, and when we're strong enough to let them try again. Thank you for being with us through this journey. We hope you felt every heartbeat of this story." Do you think Claire made the right choice by meeting Daniel again? Should love always deserve a second chance, even after a long silence? What do you think about this story? If you liked it, comment number 3 below. Comment number 1 if you weren't satisfied, or number 2 if you felt it was just okay. And tell us, what country are you watching from? Send us a heart and share this story with someone who believes in second chances.